All right, in this video, we'll be looking at the class Hydrozoa, continuing with our subject of cnidarians. Hydrozoa, just a little bit about their class. The majority of them are marine, and they are colonial in form, which means that multiple organisms join together to kind of have um, a colony where they all share resources and work for the whole colony as opposed to individuals. And so you'll have you'll have reproducing polyps, you'll have Medusa polyps, you'll have feeding polyps, and all sorts of different things. They do produce sexually, and they do have Medusa form. We will talk about a couple of examples of that. They have feeding polyps known as hydranths. Maybe I have a picture of a hydranth here. I don't. So their feeding polyps are called hydranths, and they capture prey and ingest them, provide nutrition again for the whole colony, not just for the individual. Um, they can produce new feeding polyps by budding. Their Medusa polyps form from a structure called the gonangium, which I don't have a gonangium either. So another fun word, gonangium, and these Medusa will kind of break off that process we talked about strobulation, and they will sexually reproduce through the formation of gametes, like we've talked about before. They do have a smaller Medusa stage than other classes that we're going to talk about. And let's talk a little bit about their nerve net is concentrated in these two rings. You can see here they have an inner ring and an outer ring. And those different nerve rings are filled with statocysts and ocelli. And the freshwater forms are called the hydra, appropriately enough for Hydrozoa. They live on the underside of lily pads and such in freshwater streams and pools. They attach, you can see here, through this structure called the basal disc. And this basal disc allows them to kind of move back and forth across the lily pad. Here you can kind of see that basal disc. Here's a good picture of one that's attached and of a bud forming on this one as well, asexually reproducing. Um, so they're not totally sessile, but they're not free swimming either, if that makes sense. Their mouth has this area called the hypostome, which is surrounded by these tentacles, usually 6 to 10 different tentacles. And what they do is they fill their mesoglia with water, and this kind of acts as a hydrostatic skeleton, gives them some structure so that they can capture prey. They'll actually capture a gas bubble inside their mouth area to allow them to kind of float up and also to capture prey. One specific kind of hydrozoa we're going to look at is Phasalia, which is known as the Portuguese Man of War. These are colonial organisms again. So what you're looking at here is multiple organisms all in one colony, and they are noted by their bright colors, usually blues and pinks. They can be found in tropical seas, and they have this float called a pneumatophore, and it kind of has this sail on it, and this allows them to kind of sail the seas. They have a very painful sting. Um, their tentacles, of course, are filled with nematocysts, and their tentacles are actually buds as well for new organisms. They have a mutualistic relationship. Here's another picture of the stingers, and what actually happens. These can be up to like 50 meters long. What actually happens is when they grab something, these are like coiled, and so they'll like pull it in almost like a fishing line toward this stomach mass here. Very similar to all the other things that we've talked about with the gastrovascular cavity and such, but they'll kind of hide the fish or whatever prey they have in here, and all the different feeding colonies or feeding hydranths will get them. They have a mutualistic relationship with this fish here called Nomius. Nomius will nibble on the actual tentacles and will also eat the leavings of the Portuguese Man of War, and it can attract prey also for the Portuguese Man of War to take in, because it's a small fish, and others think it can come in there and eat, and it can't because they end up getting killed.